What kind of person is Jesus? How come so many Christians have never seriously considered what kind of person I was? Why don't they consider what kind of personality and individuality I expressed during my mission? One obvious reason is that they consider me to be the Son of God. Because of the intense cult of idolatry built around me, people find it difficult to imagine that I had individuality and personality. Yet I was born of a woman, and I grew up as any other child. Why wouldn't I have been born with certain individuality, and why wouldn't I have developed a distinct personality during my formative years? What I am trying to help you see here is that most people consider me to be almost a non-person. They think that the Son of God would not have personality or individuality. This simply is not the case. I earlier said that it is dangerous to reason backwards. The reason being that as long as the life stream is trapped by the death consciousness, it will project human qualities upon God. Therefore, the life stream will develop a false image of God. Yet there is nothing wrong with reasoning that the Son of God has individuality. The reason I am bringing up this point is that every life stream was originally created with a distinct individuality. The life stream has a very deep desire to preserve and develop that individuality. This inner desire is the driving force behind what people call the survival instinct. Your spiritual survival instinct is a desire to preserve your true individuality so that it is not destroyed by any outside influence. Because of the survival instinct, no human being will want to put on Christhood if they believe that putting on Christhood means that you have to lose your individuality or personality. Therefore, it is important for me to help you understand that you do not lose your individuality by putting on your Christhood. By putting on the new human of your Christhood, you will have to put off the old human of the death consciousness and your pseudo-identity. Therefore, in one sense, you might lose some of the characteristics that you currently consider to be part of your personality. For a life stream who is very identified with the death consciousness, this might seem like a loss. However, as soon as the life stream begins to shift its sense of identity towards the Christ consciousness, that sense of loss will quickly disappear. Imagine that you are walking down the street and meet a man who is dressed in expensive clothing. The man asks if you have a penny, and you show him a coin. The man now tells you that if you will give him the penny, he will give you $1 million in return. Would you lose anything in that bargain? Yes, you would indeed lose the penny, but would it be a true loss? When I walked the earth, I was like the man who offered everyone the $1 million value of the Christ consciousness in return for their pocket change of the human personality. It was the deal of a lifetime, yet I am sorry to say that most people rejected my offer. So many people prefer to hold on to the pseudo-personality of the human ego instead of embracing the true personality that was given to them by God. Please do not hold on to a few pennies and thereby lose the kingdom of God. You will not lose your true individuality by putting on your Christhood. Instead, you will find your God-given personality, and you will be free from the prison house of the false individuality that is constantly tormenting your soul. He who is willing to lose his life, the mortal sense of identity, for my sake, for the sake of attaining Christ consciousness, shall find it. He shall find eternal life through his God-given individuality. I have a distinct personality. I desire you to understand that I do indeed have a distinct personality. I expressed that personality during my mission in Galilee. Therefore, my teachings are to some degree affected by my personality. The truth of God is beyond this world. That truth is universal, yet when you try to express the truth through words, you can never fully express the universal truth of God. Words are not very well suited for expressing a spiritual truth. Therefore, any expression of truth will, by necessity, be affected by the personality, individuality, and knowledge of the person speaking the truth. This does not mean that there is anything wrong with the truth that I was expressing. However, the way that I express my version of the truth is not the only way that God's truth could possibly be expressed. What I am trying to help you see here is that, from a higher viewpoint, there is only one truth. Yet there are many ways that this universal truth can be expressed here on earth. This is important for several reasons. Christianity is not the only true teaching or the only true religion found on planet Earth. There are many ways to express God's truth. I will later address this question in greater detail, but I desire you to recognize that there is more than one way to express God's universal truth. I earlier said that there is no way that the universal Christ consciousness can be expressed on earth. It can come to expression only when it is individualized. This also applies to expressing God's truth, which is the universal Christ consciousness. Any expression of truth is individualized, and therefore it is not the only possible way to express truth. There is no expression of the truth that accurately and completely describes God's universal truth. There is no automatic path to salvation. To walk the path to salvation, you must absorb God's truth. However, you cannot absorb that truth by simply memorizing an outer teaching. If you look at my life, you will see that I repeatedly rebuked those who had memorized the outer doctrines, yet had never made an effort to attain an inner understanding of the truth behind those doctrines. Therefore, you must always look beyond the outer teachings. You must use the outer teaching only as a stepping stone for attaining an inner understanding of the universal truth behind that particular expression of truth. My particular expression of truth was affected by my individuality and personality. You have heard the saying, "Don't shoot the messenger." I would like to paraphrase that saying as follows. Don't use the personality of the messenger as an excuse for rejecting the teachings. When I walked the earth, there were indeed people who rejected my teachings because they did not like my personality. Once again, the death consciousness is constantly seeking an excuse for not changing its ways. Well, the truth of God can be expressed in this world only through a person in the physical embodiment. Therefore, that person will inevitably have personality and individuality. As a result, the death consciousness can always find some imperfection in the person's personality or behavior and use that as an excuse for rejecting the teachings. Many people found imperfections in my personality and actions. Think about how I was criticized for healing a sick person on the Sabbath. Some people literally use that one instance as an excuse for rejecting the totality of my message. How sad it is to see a live stream who is ready to lose its place in God's kingdom because of a perceived imperfection in the personality of a messenger of God. I wish I could have helped the people who rejected my teachings because of my outer personality. I wish I could have helped them see beyond that personality. Yet they had their free will, and I respected that free will. I hope you will not reject my teachings because of my personality or the personality of the messenger who is bringing forth this book. I desire you to know that my personality is not set in stone. As every other son and daughter of God, I am constantly in the process of learning and growing. I am very happy to see the rise of the self-help movement, which in recent decades has encouraged people to pursue personal growth as never before. I want you to know that there is much more to our Father's kingdom than sitting on a pink cloud and playing in the harp. The world of form is a gigantic schoolroom that offers the student an almost unending opportunity to learn and grow. For the past 2,000 years, I have not been resting on my laurels. I have actively been pursuing the opportunities for growth that exist in the spiritual world. In some ways, I have become a gentler and more understanding teacher. I am not as quick to confront my students with their imperfections or unbelief. Yet do not let that fool you into thinking that I have gone soft. I am a very direct master. I do not beat around the bush. I do not indulge anyone's ego or the death consciousness. I give you the strong meat of the Christ consciousness that I am. When I walked the earth, many people were offended by my directness. They used it as an excuse for rejecting me and my message. I am not soft. I am concerned by the fact that so many people have built an image of Jesus Christ as being a touchy-feely master. I simply do not understand where this image came from. It could not have come from a study of my life, even the fragmented record found in the scriptures. Take another look at the scriptures and see how many times I was open and direct when confronting people about the folly of their ways. I came to bring the sword of truth and to divide the real from the unreal so that my followers could see through the relativity of the death consciousness and embrace the living truth of the Christ consciousness. I am here today to bring that same sword of truth, and in the past 2,000 years it has only been sharpened. I hope you will not use my directness as an excuse for rejecting my message. I am Jesus Christ, and I have been around this planet for a very long time. I have heard every conceivable excuse for not pursuing one's Christhood. I have heard these excuses over and over again. Let me make the situation clear. I have ascended into my Father's kingdom, and therefore I have become a permanent resident of that kingdom. God's kingdom lasts forever, and therefore I have all the time in the world. I could sit here for another 2,000 years and listen to your wonderful excuses for why you cannot put on your Christhood. It would make no difference to me personally because I have already been saved. You have not yet ascended into our Father's kingdom. You have not yet been saved. God is a merciful God, and He will give a lost life stream a very long time to change its ways and start walking the path of personal Christhood. In fact, my Father is far more patient than I am. Yet God does not give you forever. Therefore, you simply do not have time to continue thinking up excuses instead of directing all your energy and attention towards pursuing your Christhood. I am a direct master. I want you to get off the couch, turn off the TV, and pursue your Christhood instead of wasting your energies in a meaningless pursuit of entertainment and pleasure. Let those who have ears hear my words. If you will look in the innermost garments of your life stream, you will find that you have long since tired of pursuing the things of this world. At the deeper levels of your life stream, you are ready for something more. You are ready for a personal Christhood, and nothing else will satisfy your life stream's inner longing. Therefore, recognize that longing and let go of anything that stands in your way as you walk the path to your personal Christhood. I am calling you to come up higher. Simply start walking and I will show you the way. As long as you are sitting on the fence, I can do nothing for you.